On the cover of the Retail Trade Analysis Report for Newton, we find a summary of the report, and these following 5 indicators is kind of the crux of the report, and it compares 2013 to 2014. And real taxable sales up at the top line actually shows a decrease of about 2.7. Number of reporting firms shows a decrease about 1.5, and population a decrease of 0.5. Average sales per capita decrease of 2.2, which kind of goes back to the retail sales number, and average sales per firm minus 1.1, which also kind of comes back to the retail tax sales. And so as we go through those, we'll look at the graphs individually. When I looked at the indicators in the last slide, I wasn't too concerned with all the negative numbers because these things bounce around quite a bit. What I'm really looking for is a trend. So as I look at the real total taxable sales in Newton, we do see a trend. It's a downward trend from about, I think it's about 2008 on or 2007 on, and I believe the raceway or Iowa Speedway was constructed during that 2006 figure, but it has been just a steady decrease fiscal year 2014, and a pretty substantial decrease from 10 years ago. The annualized number of reporting firms in Newton, the axis is actually the number of businesses, and so in 2005 you see 530 businesses, and then as you go over to 2014 you see 539. But in between on this graph, you start riding up to the recession about 2010, 585 businesses, and then you just drop off. You lose about 35 businesses in 2011, and then it kind of steadies out, although there is a significant drop-off from 2013 and 2014. So this isn't necessarily a trend. This is what we typically see in the recession area, and you still have 9 more businesses what you did 10 years ago. It's a total retail taxable sales per capita, and so on the vertical axis you see 10,000 to 30,000 on the axis, and then the red dot is Newton and the blue dot is state of Iowa. So Newton is considerably higher than the average for the state of Iowa, but we're still seeing that steady decline of real sales per person, and so that would be a bit of a concern, but we're going to be able to show it more clearly here in a couple more slides. Population trends. The solid red line is Newton, Jasper's the dotted red line, and the state of Iowa is a blue dash. So you see the state of Iowa, the blue dash has increased about 5% over 10 years, and you see Newton is just below Jasper County. I would like to see Newton just above Jasper County as far as not declining as rapidly, but there's 2 ways to look at this. Newton is also the trade center for Jasper County, and so as long as you're attracting all those other visitors, it's not so bad. Another note about this particular chart is that if you look at the vertical axis, it's 95 to 105. So it's a really exploded view. So when you first take a look at this, you're going, wow, is anybody left in Newton? But no, when you take a look at it, it's probably only about a 3.5% drop for Newton and maybe a 3% drop for Jasper County. The next slide is showing population trends for peer cities. Again, the vertical axis is 95 to 105, and your peer group average, which I believe is 17 other similar cities to Newton, has been hanging right around 100%, that blue dotted line. Whereas Newton is, still dropping below even their peer cities. The average sales per capita, and there's 17 peer cities, of which this is a listing of the top 10. So you see Spencer at 24,309 as far as sales per capita, but then you see Newton at 16,338, and the peer group average is only 15,605, and so you're well above that peer group average. Granted, we'd like to see you probably up around the 16, 18 figure, but that's still not bad for Newton as far as per capita sales per peer group. The estimated trade area capture, or the annualized number of shoppers. And so if you look at this red line, this is actually the number of shoppers we're pulling into Newton. If you look at the blue line, that's actually the population of Newton. So like in 2005, you're pulling in significantly more people outside the area than what lives in Newton. And so that's what's really showing here is the number of shoppers. And so as we see, there's a decline. If we look at fiscal year 2014, we have an estimated number of shoppers of 23,000 and a population of 15,000. And so even though that has narrowed, it's a trend that we're concerned about over the past 10 years. Pull factor comparison with the peer group. So Newton is the red dot, peer group is the blue dash. And so you can see consistently the pull factor as a ratio has been higher than your peer group. If you look at the vertical axis, break-even point is 1. And so if you're below 1, you're probably not even serving your population, that they're going someplace else if you're in that below 1 figure. Above 1 means that you're actually drawing in shoppers from outside of Newton. And so your peer group, as you can look at the list, you can see that all of them are pulling shoppers in from outside their city limits. And then in Newton's case, you're actually even better than the pull factor. Granted, you're getting a little thin in 2014, and but we don't want to paint too bleak of a picture. This is still a good position to be in. It's just that the rate of decline is so small that I would be concerned about kind of turning that around and see what we could do to actually pull in more retail shoppers. Newton percentage shares of Jasper County totals. If you look in the right-hand chart, you'll see the population of 41%. So that's the population of Newton compared to the total in Jasper County. When you look on the left, you see taxable sales at 77%. So that means that, you know, Newton is the place to be as far as Jasper County is concerned, and it shows that a lot of people are doing their shopping in Newton. And so even though these charts look good, when we look at the whole total, there's just a small decreasing trend that I would like to see get turned around for Newton. The next table is Jasper County jurisdiction reporting as of fiscal year 2014. On the left-hand side, you see Jasper County total. In the next line, you see population of 36,465. Average number of filers for the county at 972, or businesses, and sales in millions of 317.5. And so that's the total for Jasper County. And as you read through this list of cities in Jasper County in alphabetical order, you come down to Newton. And so Newton obviously is pulling in most of the sales for Jasper County at 15,053 for population. They have over half of the businesses in the county and a significant amount of retail sales in the community. Worker inflows and outflows, and this is from the statistics of 2011. And so you see the blue arrow is people that are living elsewhere employed in Newton. That's 3,814, which is pretty significant for a retail base of pulling outside cities into Newton. The circle is employed and living in Newton, and of course we'd always like to have that higher with the benefits of housing and everything else, but that's still not bad. And the red arrow is living in Newton and employed elsewhere. And that's not a bad figure either. I mean, they're living in Newton, and the thing that makes that attractive is if they're bringing in salaries better than what they could get in Newton. This is your peer group, or the number, the cities and populations of your peer group. You're in peer group number 2. And so you can see you're kind of bucking up against some of the large retail trade centers. You got Fort Dodge, Mason City, Marshalltown, even Oskaloosa. But Newton's done well in comparison to a lot of these cities. And so just so you know what you've been compared to as far as when we talked about peer group, I thought I'd give you the list of these 17 cities. I thought I'd throw in a national slide. This is e-commerce sales in the United States as a percentage of the total retail sales in the United States. So you can see e-commerce or online purchases are just a steady increase, and fiscal year 2014 was 6.4. It's becoming a significant figure, maybe not as large as what some people thought 10 years ago, but it's still something to be reckoned with. Is it going to bother Newton? Probably not a great deal. But it also keeps us as a reminder that retail sales is kind of moving online, and so we need to keep up with that trend also if we're able to offer that.